What's up, everybody? This is Marcus, your MTT coach of the Academy of Poker, and we're here with another educational video, meaning today we will have a small hand review. And as always, make sure to hit the subscription, tap the bell so you're not missing out on any of our videos, and follow us on all our social media so you will always get all the updates we post. But as said, let's go into the hand review. And yeah, I thought I'm gonna take a spot that might look pretty clear, but I still wanted to show you what the perfect way of playing those kinds of hands is, and therefore I decided to take it. As you see, we're pretty early in the tournament phase, and as said, it looks like a pretty normal spot. As you see, we have Queen 10 offsuit here in the cutoff. Pretty standard spots, pretty standard open raise, and only the big blind defense. So we have only two people in the pot now, and yeah, we get a flop of Jack 6-4. Two hearts, one spade. In this case, the hero, which was me, uh, did not hit anything. However, normally, of course, you would say like mostly c-bet here. The villain will have enough folds in there, and so on and so forth. But still, as I said, I wanted to have a closer look into those situations, and therefore we're using the simple post-flop solver for this. And yeah, we put in some different things here. So we created the bet sizings here. We can't use too many as it's a big calculation to do. And as you see, we have the open raiser and we have the defender. This is the flop. We have our ranges here that we already put in earlier. You see we have different big blind stacks, and yeah, this is as you see, when you have he's really big, but the effective stacks is our stack here, so 60 big blinds in that situation. Means this is the cutoff opening range for 60 big blinds. This is the defending range versus the cutoff in the big blind for 60 big blinds. And as a default, as said, simple post flop or every solver needs a lot of RAM to work. So as a default, we don't put any donk bets in here because that's mostly the case, and that's normally how the hands work out. So that's why we chose the check in here. And as you can see, for now we have three different options. We have checking, we have the betting, and we have betting almost already close to third of pot, and 2/3 or almost 70% of the pot. And then if we take a look here, now you see everything in yellow should be a check. The green one is betting 70%, and the red one is betting a third. And if we look at our hand, Queen 10 offsuit, having a look again, we have the Queen of clubs and the 10 of hearts. This is interesting, or this is important as well, because of course, if we have, for example, the 10 of hearts, we are blocking some of his flush draw combinations. So therefore, we will see different types of playing this hand. For example, now here, as you see, the queen with the queen 10 clubs and hearts would only be checked 38%, while, for example, the queen of spades with the 10 of clubs would be checked only 30% of the time, and we would be bet 36% here and 30% here. The thing is, because we have that blocker, we might have some extra equity here that could allow us to check back, because we will pick up a flush draw more often, and it's not possible without having a heart in our hand, right? So as you see, it's pretty merged, so pretty mixed up. As you see, we would bet half the time, or actually in betting like 60% of the time and checking 40% of the time. Out of this 50%, we will go for 3/4 for a bigger sizing and 1/4 for a smaller sizing. And this is interesting just to see how far from the best way possible we played it. And just to show you, so we can continue here, I chose the bigger sizing, so those 70%. The reason is because for the smaller sizing, he could definitely float way more. With the bigger sizing, we're going to toggle it down a little bit towards more draw-heavy hands or some hits. And he will probably, to this bigger sizing, he will not float some backdoor straight draws, maybe speaking of king 10 or like 10-8 or something like that, when he has 10-8 of spades, for example, he would more likely than fold it than calling it because it's going to get expensive, and he needs to hit pretty good here. So we did the right sizing according to the simple post flop, and then you see the ranges of the big blind, what he should be calling or raising. As you see, mostly all the top pairs, or a lot of the top pairs would be raising. Two pair combinations like Jack 6 or Jack 4 suited definitely just calls here because we don't have that many flush draws, so there's not that much he needs to protect. Also, you see already a lot of folds, as we said, for the bigger sizing. We get quite a lot of the high cards to fold here, which is pretty nice. Of course, not he will not get to fold any second, third pair of or top pair hands. And speaking about the flush draws, when we go to the suited hands here, I can't have that one. Ace 5, for example, is always also just a call. As you see, all the hearts played 100% as a call, never as a raise in this situation, which could be surprising to some people as they like to play those nut flush draws pretty aggressively. On the other hand, some other flush draws, let's say, for example, 10-4 is a pair as well, 9-3 suited as well, just a 100% a call. So not really that many raises here. Some some backdoors or some, as you see here, some calls. Uh, Here, for example, with the 3 of hearts, so the opener with some backdoor flush draws would be raises, for example, but also then most of the openers without a heart would most likely just be calls, which is also again interesting because he's blocking some hearts there, and that's of course good for him and makes it easier to just call than rather to raise where you have to protect versus possible flush draws. However, he decides to make the call, and you might have seen it on the post flop already. We get to the turn. The thing is, I already prepared this because just only calculating the flop here with those few decision options took like 6-7 minutes. As I said, it takes a lot of RAM to work throughout because this solver then goes through almost like a mil or like more than a million or millions and millions of different options how to go through and goes through every possible tree option. So therefore there is quite a lot. Um, as you see, so now we bet 2/3 of the pot, player 2 calls. As you see, the ranges are already updated because if we play it like that, we don't have certain hands anymore. And you can have a look here, as you see the overview of what we can have. Uh, it's pretty narrowed down already. We have quite often some top pair combinations. We have some flush draw combinations. And as you see, a lot of hands we will not have anymore. The big blind, however, still has 30%, so his range is still a bit wider. He can have a lot of second pair combinations and so on and so forth. But now as I said, we did that already. However, the turn calculation would not take that much. Again, we go for player 2 as an auto check on the 3 of clubs. We could definitely mix in some leads here, as the 3 is not a bad card for his range, but for now, this is just, as said, a bit easier also for the PC to be able to calculate all this. And having a look now here, we again put 2 sizes in, and in this case, we just went for the smaller sizing. Probably the solver, if we go for a bigger sizing, would opt to that, but because this is the biggest sizing we choose here, as you see, the solver goes for that sizing. It doesn't like the 1/3 of a pot at all, as you see, so it goes towards checking or betting roughly half the pot. And now again, when we look at our hand here, in that case, when we bet here with the queen 10 off, again you see the queen of clubs, 10 of hearts. It goes for 1/3 of the time as a check, and it goes for 2/3 of the time betting half the pot here. If we go for the betting, and we see what the opponent will fold. It's actually not that much anymore of the whole range he's having. If we would check, for example, of course, then there's no further action. Uh, but because in this case we decided to check it behind on the turn, seeing a river, my opinion here was that if he calls here, it might be some flush draws, which we will not look too bad with queen high in the end. So that's one side why I checked behind, and also I'm still just having queen 10. The turn doesn't improve my range at all, really. We can have 6-5, 7-5 suited maybe in our range, but that's pretty much it. Ace, like even some ace X are not improving too much, so if we continue here, we pretty much only have the jack axis here, maybe some middle pairs like sevens, eights, up to tens. That could still be a thing where we barrel a second time. But other than that, it does improve the big blinds range more than it does our range. So I'll go for the check back. And as you see, with my hand in particular, it's okay. We do it a third of or 3 out of 10 times. We do check behind here, so it is actually fine to do it like this. And therefore, as I said, but because we have to mix it up sometimes anyway, it's not that big of a mistake here, definitely. Now we have again, we show the river, and of course here now we have the option that the opponent is also betting, because if we check behind, like there's no betting lead anymore, so it's not like there's a donk bet involved, so he can do it. However, as you see, he checks. And now let's have a look at our range, and you see we have again, we put in 3 sizings, and the solver doesn't want us to bet half the pot with anything we have here. As you see, we also have only 6% of our range, so you see only a sixth of the range we started with is left, whereas the big blind still has a pretty big range here with almost 31%. And then let's have a look what it says to our hand. So we have queen 10 off again, the queen of clubs, the 10 of hearts, and you see it does say we should give it up more often than not. So 55% of the time we should give it up. 44% we should bet on the bigger side, 16 into 22.5, so roughly again 70% of the pot. And then we can also have a look if we take this sizing from after player 2 checks. And you see overall, just if we talk about the one hand we have, again, it says 55% check and 44, but our overall range should be checking back 71%. So we don't actually have too many hands here. And if you see about what we should bet, of course, all of us straights. And then again, as I said, when we have like sevens, eights, nines, for example, we would have nines and eights as the middle pair quite some often. But not really many bluffs. We have ace queen suited here. Oh, both of the not blocking any flush draws. This is only blocking the backdoor flush draw, and we don't really see somebody, like we will not see the big blind calling with just some high cards which are 2 clubs here, because he doesn't have the chance of a backdoor flush. Other than that, not too much. However, if we would go for that, let's see what he would need to call. For example, here's some of the possible flush draws. As you see that almost all should be folding. 10 deuce would be calling 3 out of 100 times, for example, but like the other ones, as you see, all folds. Some of the third pairs, as you see, should still be folding most of the time. And as you see, most of the hands here are including top pairs and at least second pair, or some blockers when you see the ace 4 here, because then we block some ace highs, which would make it more likely for us to be bluffing here. Because with ace high we would have some showdown value in this situation. And yeah, so as you see, the only where we made like some kind of a mistake would be the turn. In the end, we decided to check it back here, and we get shown the 9 deuce. Unfortunate, he did hit the river here with a pair of deuces, which was good then. But as you see, like we didn't do that many mistakes. So as you see by checking back the river, which it does suggest with our hand. So we played that normally. Just the problem on the turn where we should more likely continue, and probably the thing is he would probably still call. Maybe we can have a look here if we see that again, what player two should be calling. And funny enough, he should be, for example, he should here be raising all of his flush draws, which is pretty interesting. If we really bet here, you see he should be raising most of his flush draws. Of course, if he has the jack deuce with top pair plus flush draw, he's just calling. But all the other flush draws would be raising. Also with an ace here, then it's most likely a call because ace high is good sometimes. Um, but yeah, so the way it would have probably gone is that we do bet the turn. He still calls because of now he also has the gut shot to go with it, plus the flush draw, and then we check back the river. So we did kind of save like 7 to 8 big blinds in this hand. Um, but it's always interesting, and I think also for you guys to see how this, yeah, what the solver is suggesting to do. And as said, we did make a big mistake here. We can definitely check back sometime, especially like with our hand, with our whole range, we should be betting more often, as you see, 56 to 44%. But with our particular hand, it's also okay. 3 out of 10 times we can check back here, but knowing that we will most likely give it up on the river as well, even though in this case, as I said, as you see here, it's still saying we should check it then like giving up is a bit easier here for us because then as said there's not too many combinations we will get rid of. The big blind has more 5x combinations than we have, and is also like some 4s and 6s will still be calling most of the time, and therefore we should only try it every second time roughly. I really hope you enjoyed small that small evaluation, that small review of a hand. As said, it looks like a pretty standard spot, but it's still nice to see what we should be doing. And yeah, key takeaways, as you see, with those kinds of hands, where you do have at least a blocker to some flush draws, which is pretty nice. You can continue the turn, but then you need to know that you should also continue on the river here. Good thing is on these levels as well. For example, if he has a 5, he would most likely not check to you. So in that case, you don't need to be afraid of the river too much. That he did hit it with an open ender. You also have to think about if he calls the flop with it. Does he just have just a random 5? He would only probably continue with ace 5, 5 deuce, because he has done the gut shot already, 5 7, 5 8. So there's not that many 5x combos that he has, and most of the time he will already go there on the turn, and he would probably not check it twice. So it always has to be also about, does it make sense for the opponent or not? But still, I think, yeah, pretty interesting hand, as I said. Make sure to leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the hand. Do you have those spots, or if you have a similar spot, and how did it turn out for you, or what do you think in general? How would you continue this spot? Is it a clear 3-barrel bluff for you, or would you check back the turn and maybe then barrel again on the river sometimes, or would you normally play it exactly as simple post flop as the GTO solver suggests it? Let me know in the comments. As said, also leave a like, give us a subscription on YouTube, follow us on all our social media. And yeah, then thanks for watching. Good luck at the tables, and see you in the next video, guys. Bye.